inevitable.
You have to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy.
I'm totally Batman.
Oh, man.
Shh. Communing with the earth spirits.
Welcome to California, bud.
Cowabunga.
And after that, I just sort of space out for about an hour.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Secondary Heroes podcast. This week, we're returning to Hogwarts with the Harry Potter reunion special. This is your host, Trevor, and joining me as usual is...
Accio Podcast. This is Prague.
It's Leviosa. This is the Lorraine Wolfgang.
You're a wizard, Harry. This is Michelle.
Michelle, you're back for another episode.
Returning with you guys to Hogwarts.
This is unreal. It's almost like we've got a brand new member. Josh, don't worry. You can still show up whenever you want, buddy.
I'm not replacing anyone.
Secondary hero.
Secondary.
Yes.
Tertiary.
The backup to the backup. I like it.
Oh, sitting on the bench, just waiting for a chance.
You're our Neville Longbottom. I like it.
Oh,
right,
that would make her the hero of the story.
Yeah, it could be.
The almost chosen one.
We all start dropping out, and you're the only one left. That's right. Now I am the host. That's what you should do.
Yes.
No?
It's a lot of responsibility.
Exactly.
So, as you can see, I am cosplaying as Harry Potter tonight. If you're watching on YouTube,
that's who you are. Okay,
that's right. I am.
First. Okay.
I'm Gen Z. Am I Gen Z or millennial Harry Potter? What is
I
this?
think you're more Gen Z, good, like just with the look.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's trying too hard.
It should be a.
It's trying too hard.
This is Potter trying too hard. Okay.
Yeah. It's like hello.
Yeah, if it was a bad
kids.
Pro Shop hat, it would be more...
It'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Wait, is that the in thing? Is
Yeah.
Oh, they're
it's-
super hip right now.
So in, it's weird.
That's so bizarre.
I'm gonna go throw mine away real quick. Hold on.
I had to throw all my Von Zipper hats away. Ooh. Remember when that was a thing?
No.
Back when this movie first came out. Boom!
Wow.
No, but I wanted to tell a story before we get into this.
Okay.
I think my kid is starting to see Dementors. She started doing this thing where, and I'm sure you guys have heard of this, where kids can like see ghosts and see things that we can't see.
Yeah, like Haley Joel Osment. He did that. Yes. I
Yes.
remember this.
Well,
Just
my
like that.
my child has entered that age frame where she's doing this really creepy stuff all the time now. Like the other day we were laying in bed and we were just goofing off and she stopped everything. She looks up at just this empty part of the room and just goes, "Bye-bye." And I'm like, "Oh, Adeline, what are we bye-bying? Who are we talking to right now?" She, "Bye-bye." I'm like, whoa, hold on. And then she did it tonight again. We were reading a book in the living room and she looks right out the window and does the same thing. She goes, "Bye-bye." I'm like, oh, it again. I know that we re-recorded this, but I'm getting goosebumps talking about it again, man. I get goosebumps every time I think about it because I'm like, this is some really creepy
maybe
stuff.
it was nearly Headless Nick. Who knows?
Yeah, just a friendly ghost. Maybe not something
Yeah.
evil.
Well, what I
Really
did
nearly
was
headless.
tonight I said, "Hey, if you are here in my home, you are more than welcome to be here. Just be cool, man. Don't start messing with my stuff. Just be cool. I'm all right with you being here and hanging out with my kid and whatnot. Just be cool."
Be cool. And just
be
watch
cool.
out for parcel tongue. Make sure that doesn't happen.
What is a
Should we get
parcel
her a
tongue?
baby's first Ouija board?
No,
Oh.
we don't bring Ouija boards into this house.
That
My
sounds like
dad
fun.
scared me to death about Ouija boards, so now we don't bring that stuff in here.
Okay.
Which is
I'll buy
weird
you
because
one right now.
I like what they look like. I think they look cool, but like, ooh, that's creepy, man. I don't know. I don't need to bring that evil into my home.
Well,
hopefully
whatever you
it's just
do, watch
magic.
out.
Yeah, it's just magic, and Adeline's waiting for a letter in 10 years.
She's gonna get a letter. I just got a letter. Okay, Blue's Clues. Sorry, I have a 1-year-old, so this stuff just
That's
Yeah.
what
I
that
mean,
is. All right.
I feel like one of the best pranks though is to go all in with your kid and create the letter yourself and give it to them on their 11th birthday, and then go to the train station and be like, run at full
Run as
speed,
hard as you can.
right into that
no.
barrier, and it
Oh,
will
no.
go through. Don't worry.
Oh, my scar is hurting. There must be a snake person nearby.
Snake person. Gee, I wonder
Isn't
which
that
one of us
nice?
doesn't know much Harry Potter.
Oh, dude, I am an aficionado of Harry
Nice.
Potters.
This will be good.
So cool. How do we want to jump into this? We're talking about the reunion. This was I guess a big deal. I don't know.
It seemed like it on social media
Doesn't
for
feel
a
like
bit.
it's been 20 years, honestly.
It
Well, it was
doesn't.
20 years since the first movie came
Yeah,
out.
since the first one. It's
And I guess it's only been
Yeah.
10 years since the last one came out.
So are they just going to keep
Still.
doing this every 20 for all 7 movies, every 20-year reunion? They're just going to do this all over again.
Until they're all dead. You know?
Ooh.
Sure.
I don't know if you saw that memoriam part, but they're
that was the
falling
best
pretty
part
quick.
of the reunion.
I mean,
Oh my god.
Saddest,
Guys,
but
the
stop.
in memoriam part, it just like fictional deaths never get to me, but combining fictional mourning with actual deaths, that was pretty good.
The
Yeah,
wand
that was well
raising.
done.
Yeah, the wand raising when Dumbledore dies in the movies, I don't really care because that Dumbledore deserved to die, and everyone celebrated when he did die. And so to have the actual like memoriam for people like Richard Harris, who is the best Dumbledore and is
Correct.
Dumbledore.
Alex, I think you should probably do the disclaimer
was gonna
now.
say.
No, okay, so disclaimer, everybody. Before we get into this episode, the views and opinions brought to you by our good buddy Trevor do not reflect the views and opinions of the entire show as a whole. So heed warning that this is probably going to get ugly in one
But
way or
that's
another.
okay. He
It's
can
okay. We're
do
allowed to have
whatever he
opinions.
wants. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's his opinions, and people have their opinions. That's
But
all it is.
before we get to Trevor's opinion, we do have voicemails.
All right, about the Harry Potter reunion. Man, I have been a Harry Potter fan my entire life, ever since I was such a young kid. I remember even my parents reading the books to me, and then I read the books a million times and seen the movies a million times, been at all the midnight premieres, book releases, and to me it was just so fun to kind of relive that. It brought back so much fun nostalgia from childhood and all of those things, seeing the flashback videos, and just absolutely loved it. I also loved seeing how all of the characters were interacting while they were filming. I loved seeing like Bellatrix and Harry's relationship. I loved seeing how they looked up to Sirius and Hagrid and just the producers with all of them. I thought it was so cool. We ended up loving it so much we watched it 3 times in a row. And then the next day, I even went out and got the Harry Potter scar tattooed on my arm. So that is how much I loved the reunion.
All right, cool. That was from Elise, or as she's known on Instagram as Pop Anonymous. Thank you very much,
Nice.
Elise. That was awesome. And now the
Big
next
fan,
one.
huh?
Yeah, big. Oh, if you go onto her Instagram, huge Harry Potter fan. It's
Nice.
awesome. I actually had to reach out. I'm like, I've got to get this person to say some. Did you hear that she had she got a tattoo after the reunion was over? She watched it 3 times and got a tattoo.
That's some hype.
Wild.
That's
Maybe I
a fan
should
right
get-
there.
I should get this scar tattooed to my forehead.
Lightning scar tattoo.
Why not, dude?
Won't regret that at all.
No.
All right. Here's our next voicemail.
Hi guys, this is John, also Night Marauder on Twitter. I'm looking forward to your guys' discussion about the Harry Potter reunion. We definitely had a lot of fun rewatching the films and revisiting the whole world of Harry Potter this way, seeing the cast and seeing how much they've changed and everything that they have experienced through the films. It was really, really fun. It brought back a lot of memories of seeing the film Sorcerer's Stone in theaters at 10 or 11. That was perfect age to see in theaters. Yeah, and seeing and going back to reliving memories of standing in line at midnight at a Walden Books to get to the fourth book, A Goblet of Fire, and even reading Sorcerer's Stone for the first time was I always think about that first time, and I look forward to reading the illustrated editions with my kids when they get a little older, we'll start reading those with them, and that's going to be a pretty fun experience. But yeah, looking forward to the episode, and yeah, bye.
Awesome. Thank you, John, for your voicemail, man. This was great having voicemails. This is such a fun feature. Hey, if you want to leave a voicemail for us, go to crossthestreamsmedia.com. There's a little button that looks like a microphone. Click that bad boy. Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it. I told you we would. Where do we start?
It's tough to detangle the reunion from talking about the movies and the books and everything therein.
Of course.
But we do want to use this time to not only talk about the reunion, but talk about other aspects of Harry Potter, like J.K. Rowling and how she fits in society right now, and the potential expansion of the Harry Potter universe beyond Harry, and all the potential things you could do with TV shows or movies, or they're already doing video games and everything like that. So just, it's a whole talking point of the Harry Potter universe.
Yeah, buckle in. This is gonna be a long one.
Oh,
it's a lot to cover.
Oh, hold on.
Strap
Let me
in.
check my watch. What time is it? All right.
You just need a time turner, and you can just make time for it.
There you go.
No, I got a DeLorean.
Nah.
Also works. I don't have my time. I have a time turner. I don't know where it is.
All right. Pause the podcast. Go find your time turner.
It's okay.
Make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
Suddenly it'll just be here. That's how that works, right?
Right.
That is true.
But you were there, and now you're here, and but you were there, and now you're here.
How long have you been there?
Oh, I love Ron.
So
All right.
altogether, what did you guys kind of just think overall of this? I'm going to start with Prague on this one. Prague, what did you think overall of this whole thing?
So, I actually really enjoy the movies. I also love the books. The reunion for me was fine. Like it wasn't like the best thing ever, the worst thing ever. It was just it was fine. I enjoyed it. I think my issue was that I felt like a lot of the stuff we saw were stuff that I had already seen as like either deleted scene, outtakes, behind the scenes footage from the DVDs. So I've already seen most of this footage. So there's a few moments in footage that I hadn't seen before that were nice to see, that at least I don't remember seeing before. And then obviously the actual interviews with them and seeing what they look like now was a lot of fun for me. So I did enjoy that aspect, seeing people catch up with each other, because it looked like these people, they don't hang out with each other all the time necessarily. They may have like text conversations, but to see them actually come back after that long of a time and really get to sit down and talk to each other was really neat to see. So overall, I think it was fine. It wasn't like it didn't blow me out of the water or anything crazy or anything, but that's how a lot of reunion shows tend to happen that way. But it was fine. I liked it.
Yeah. So I'll actually piggyback off you. If you guys don't mind, I'll go next. At first I actually kind of felt a little disjointed because it almost felt like it just jumps into it, and then there's people in the Great Hall and they're all hugging each other, except Harry Potter's not there, Ron's not there. Only Hermione was the only one in that Great Hall with all.
It was a bit weird at the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, with all the second, and that was the thing. The beginning was kind of like it throws you straight into it, but you're kind of like, well, what's going on? Are they all going to just have a round table in the Great Hall? That's going to be kind of cool. And then it just jumps around to something else. So it's a little disjointing when I was watching it. But I think when you said it was like watching a commentary, like a DVD commentary, that's exactly how I felt. This was a behind the scenes on one of the DVD commentaries. It was almost like they were trying to do the same thing that Friends did. Friends did that. But Friends, I thought, actually did it better in a way. I don't know. I thought having them all on the stage together, talking of memories and stuff like that, that was really cool. That's what I thought this was going to be. But this ended up not being like that at all. So,
right.
Yeah.
I'll piggyback on that too.
Yeah,
oh, sorry.
okay,
Go. You can finish.
No. I'm done. Okay. I'll get into more details when we get into this.
Okay. Because that's how I felt about it. It's not a reunion.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a reunion.
It's not a reunion. It's like you see the main trio together, and then they have like separate pockets. But even like they have the Weasley family there, and Rupert Grint's not with them. They have like they show Emma Watson with a few people. Like I liked the beginning a lot. I love how it's like them getting their letters and stuff. I don't know why Harry had to be separate. There's like the whole thing with that.
There had to have been like scheduling issues.
I know.
Had to have been.
Yeah. And then so it just You're right. It felt very disjointed. And I'm like, I was waiting. I was like, at the end, are they all going to be together and we're going to see everybody?
Right.
But no, I almost wanted there to be a moderator who like asked them questions and stuff like that. I was like, it could have been Christopher Columbus, because my favorite part of Christopher Columbus, I guess his name is Christopher Columbus.
It is. His name.
But my favorite part was him interacting with all of them, because like that stuff I haven't seen. I agree with Prague. A lot of it's footage I've already seen and interviews I've already seen and things I've already heard all of them say. Like them telling them, oh, I love you, like you'll always be part of my life. I'm like, I know all that. Obviously, you guys like spent like 10 years together. Obviously, we know all that. We want, like, I loved the stories they told, like Chris Columbus telling the stories about Richard Harris and all that stuff. Like that was the good part of the reunion. But other than that, it just kind of, I don't know, fell flat for me.
Yeah.
Again, back to the disjointed. It just nothing strung together. I feel like it didn't catch its legs until halfway through, and then it was like, okay, they're doing like chapter by chapter type of thing, which made sense and whatnot, but the whole beginning was just a mess. All right, Trevor.
Yeah, I mean,
let's do this.
You guys have kind of
buckle up,
but no, that's my problem. Isn't the reunion? My problem is the movies that the reunion's based on. But just for the reunion itself, it's I wanted an actual reunion. Like, I understand it's supposed to be a celebration, and that's good. I want somebody to do a making of Harry Potter and actually talk about what happened and how they had 4 different directors across 8 movies. That's really interesting to me. It's just all of the kind of behind the scenes that went into that. But we're celebrating everybody, and to just have like solo interviews, like here's Daniel Radcliffe talking to Gary Oldman. Now here's Daniel Radcliffe talking to Helena Bonham Carter, and they don't talk together. They don't talk with Emma Watson or Rupert Grint and Tom Felton. He's talking to Dean and Neville, and they never interact with anybody else. They're all like these little pockets. I don't know if it was a COVID thing, but if you have the Harry Potter franchise and you're Warner Brothers, can't you set up a time for, we need like a couple hours for everybody to just be in one place, and we're just gonna have you guys talk, because the little pockets disjointed and just, it kind of took you out of what they were actually trying to convey with the story of the reunion. Because the reunion idea, like Friends, at least imagine if it's like, oh, here's Jennifer Aniston and Courtney Cox talking, and then they're just by themselves and they never interact with anyone else. It would be weird.
Yeah, it wouldn't have that same vibe that they had during that reunion. So
and even in that reunion, they do split off into pockets, but they always came back together,
right?
And they always talked with each other. And that's the thing, is like that Friends reunion was shot during the peak of the pandemic. Like, even whenever they had the audience was split apart whenever they showed it, like in separate tables, like very minimal people there. They could have done literally the same thing, and we probably would have liked it a little bit more. Because you want to see Malfoy talking with Harry Potter. You want to see those interactions. Like, they had a major interaction together throughout the films, and you never see them talk to each other once.
Yeah, it was strange.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of notable absences. Like, obviously there's
yes.
the actors we've lost, but like there were a lot of like Dumbledore wasn't there, McGonagall wasn't there. And I know like there's health issues and COVID, but it's like they could have like arranged an interview on a video just to like cut it in,
Zoom
maybe
call, yeah.
just so they could talk. Like, they don't even have to talk to anybody else, but just to like be seen and be a part of it. So there were very obvious gaps in it.
Big
from people, you'd want to see.
And then shout out to the guy who plays Professor Quirrell, who I didn't know was in the reunion. In the very end, he says one sentence, and imagine you're that dude, and he talked for like 30 minutes or an hour, and he watches it back, and he's like, "That's the one line they used.
That's
the entire reunion."
It's so funny that you bring that up. I was literally about to say the same exact thing. Bring it. His name is Ian Hart, I believe. Ian Hart plays that character. Anyways, so he shows up for a split second. It did not make sense. Why? Why even put that in there?
Of the time.
Like, you put that in there, and all of a sudden it's like, well, now everybody who knows that character is like, why? Why did you do that? I want to hear more from him. He was a big part of the first film.
Yeah, it's the main villain. So yeah, of course. I don't know. I felt like this was probably like their idea of like, oh shoot, the anniversary's coming up. Why don't we make this like sizzle reel type reunion special to let people know that we have all the Harry Potter films on HBO Max. Let's rush it, And I felt it felt rushed.
Felt
I felt
like
like it was
like it came up on a
PR
calendar,
piece.
and they're
Yeah.
like, oh my god, it's already been 20 years.
I know,
Do
shoot.
something. That's a big round number.
Yeah.
Well, the
Hurry.
funny thing is the entire cast, everybody kept saying, really doesn't feel like it's been that long.
No, it doesn't. To
And
me, it
it's
doesn't.
because when they stopped filming, it hasn't been 20 years. That's when they
Right,
started filming.
that's true.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's just because it's so long that it's only been 10 years, I think, since the last film.
Yeah. So they should have waited another 10 years. It would have been cooler because it's like a lot of those actors are still doing things. Like everyone's like, oh, it's so good to see them. It's like, well, I've been a Harry Potter fan and kept on top of it. I knew how all these actors still looked. It wasn't surprising to me to
And
see
Rupert
them.
Grint and Servant and, Emma Watson
Is
as
everywhere,
Belle
yeah.
and all kinds of stuff. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh my god.
And like
Oh,
Harry Potter
wow,
fans
you
have
grew
been
up.
talking about Neville Longbottom's glow up forever. So
Yeah.
and then it's like Ivana Lynch and Tom Felton are huge Harry Potter nerds. They go to like conventions and stuff. They're everywhere when it comes to Harry Potter. So it would have been cooler to wait another 10 years and then do a reunion when they're like all a lot further from Harry Potter. I think it would have been more impactful, but I get not wanting
They
to
might
wait.
do it in 10 years
Yeah.
because that's right when they're going to reboot the whole franchise. So it would make sense.
Why not?
Is that a good transition?
Well, I think it's a little too soon, but I mean that it once. So Discovery bought Warner Brothers, and they're gonna fail at that. And so once it goes up for sale again, I figure Disney's gonna buy it, and then Disney will reboot Harry Potter.
I hope it's a series.
Yes,
Not movies, but a series.
like a Disney Plus series. It'll most likely
That'd
be
be
a
fun.
cartoon, and it's just going to rehash the
Oh,
same.
I don't think
things
they'll
we've already
animate
seen.
it.
No,
I
it'll
don't
be
think they'll
live
animate
action
it
for sure.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
What would be the point? I feel like you need to hit
The
that
point
20-year
is
mark on the last
that-
Oh,
movie.
Trevor's gonna tell you the point.
So the
There it
point is that the movies, for some reason, the first two movies, Chris Columbus had a very specific idea in mind, a visual identity to the films. And he went and talked to J.K. Rowling, and she's like, that's exactly what I was thinking. And so you could see that the first two movies have a very specific design style that has this very like colorful, magical, like just a
Whimsical
simplicity
almost?
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, whimsy, I think, is a good idea. And then for some reason, I still don't know why Chris Columbus left. And then in
Yeah, I
the
know, I was hoping he was
reunion
gonna talk
special,
about that.
He's like, I felt guilty leaving. And I'm like,
But
what
why did
happened?
you leave?
Don't just tell me you felt guilty. Because
Yeah.
his talking with Daniel Radcliffe and everybody, that was some of the best interview portions
Yeah,
of the
of course.
reunion.
I love
special.
I love listening to him talk. Like he's one of my favorite directors. It's like it's just fun to listen to him talk.
Because I've done some research on it. Apparently, he left for family reasons. Like he didn't like being
Ah.
all the way in the UK, and he wanted to be closer to his family.
Okay.
Which is
Rick
understandable,
Moranis,
but
I get
also
it.
like,
All right.
Yeah.
I will say I was very surprised of how old Christopher Columbus was. I would
Yeah.
think he would be way older considering he was born in the 1700s.
I was waiting for
Dude, the reference would at least be based on 1492. Chris
14,
Columbus
not
sailed out in blue.
17. Screw it. I'm going to edit this. I'm editing this part out.
So close. Only off by
Golly, I
300
can't
years.
believe I said 17. Oh, I feel like an idiot. No.
But just imagine if Chris Columbus directed all 8 movies. Well, there probably would have been 7. They probably wouldn't have split the last one. Just it would be a different timeline. The vision that happens out over time really changes a lot. Like I respect what Alfonso Cuarón did with number 3, but it changes it a lot. And then for some reason, that's the only one he does. But a lot of the stuff, like his design of Hogwarts and changing the landscape of Hogwarts so it's more cliff-like,
and the
there's all
color
these,
palette.
yeah, the Dementor
Yeah.
design, a lot of the stuff that he goes on forward. But then 4 is kind of they miss. It's the longest book, so that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not.
The 5th book is the longest
Okay.
book.
Oh,
And
it is
then-
fun, yes.
But then David Yates comes in for 5, 6, and 7, and he makes it somehow darker. He applies a sepia tone to everything. The most jarring thing is when they show behind the scenes, and it's like, how many filters did you put on this film for the final results? Because it doesn't even look like that's not the same movie that they shot. But it's just, I think for me, the weirdest aspect is they didn't ask any of the directors, how come you went and you have the books created? J.K. Rowling is really good at world building, but she's even better at choreographing action sequences within these books. Like she paints the entire picture of really intense story sequence that Harry does. Why would you decide as a director that I don't think that's good enough? And they didn't really, again, it's not a behind the scenes, it's not an interrogation, it's not even an investigation of why they made the decisions, but David Yates actually does decide to bring it up for part 7 or part 2 of book 7. And he's like, in the final battle between Harry and Voldemort, I thought, in the books, it's in the Great Hall, everyone's gathered around, and it's this big monumentous thing. I wanted to make it earthier and grittier. And so his decision literally is to go out into the courtyard and have no one around. So that way, for some reason, again, they do the thing where instead of the spells reflecting really quickly, where Voldemort does his kill spell and it right immediately goes back to him. Instead, it's that thing where the power goes back and forth between the two wands, and then finally, slowly but surely goes into Voldemort, and he gets Thanos snapped away for some unknown reason. And it loses the emphasis of the book. But I wanted to know why he decided to make that change, because then after that, so Harry kills Voldemort, and he walks back into the Great Hall. And people are having their own little conversations. They're drinking coffee. They don't even look up at Harry. How do they even know that Voldemort's dead? Nobody saw it. And no one even acknowledges that Harry made this monumental final culmination of everything. It's so weird to change like core structures of something that works. It's not like, that part of the book's so stupid that Harry kills Voldemort like that. That's idiotic. Let me change it entirely. I just want to know why because they did it for every single movie, every single one of these directors.
Yes, they did.
So me and him talked about that before, is you watch the Chris Columbus ones and they're missing things because you can't translate an entire book into a movie. It's just not, there's not enough time, and audience won't sit in a theater that long. Right. Although movies are getting longer, so maybe they will. Who knows? And when you watch it, you're like, okay, he cut stuff out, but the story still happens the same way it happens in the book. And then you get to 3, and suddenly things are different. They're changing how things happen. They're like reordering things. They're moving things from one book to another. And you're just like, why? Why is this happening?
Oh, I don't know this stuff. I didn't read the book, so I
were
literally
talking
know the
about
movies.
that. We were talking about that, and we're like, we wonder how it is for people that just watch the movies. Aren't you confused by some things that they don't explain ever? And like,
that's a good
take
question.
A lot of character development for granted, that people that these characters do this or these motives that I don't feel they fully established in the movies.
Even other things, like there's the piece of glass that Harry has in the 7th
the mirror
movie, the mirror.
Yeah,
they never explain how he got that or whose it is.
When I watched the movies, I was so confused why they never talked about it.
I was like, where did he get that? I know he's supposed to have it, but how did he get it? They never talk about it or whose it is or why he has it.
Yeah,
and it confounds me why they just cut the stuff that's clearly important. It's like the whole impact of Dobby's death. It's like they cut out all of the house elves.
Yeah.
There are no house elves
in Harry
Potter.
Yeah, book/movie 4, Neville gives Harry the Gillyweed to deal the second task in the Triwizard Tournament rather than Dobby doing it. Dobby always plays an influential role after book 2, or even in book 2, but we see him in 2, and then he shows up in 7, and then he dies. And it doesn't mean anything to the audience because we didn't see him do anything in 3, 4, 5, or 6.
Because they don't have... So the food, Alex, in the Great Hall is made by house elves. They work in the kitchens beneath the Great Hall.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so there's this whole plot in Harry Potter, the books, about these house elves, and Hermione's like fighting for their freedom. And there's like these other house elves that are important characters. But no, they're just like a lot of the ghosts and all the like Peeves and all those things are like, no house elves except Dobby. And so some reason Dobby's important.
And interestingly on that, I mean, there's Creature where he betrays Sirius and pretty much effectively causes his death. And we never see his betrayal. And so when he shows up in 7, it doesn't mean anything that Harry actually has to come around and actually connect with him, even though he absolutely despises him.
Yeah, strange.
So I'm gonna stop you guys for a second, and I'm gonna back you up. You guys said you would have rather had Chris Columbus stick with the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
Do you,
or at least stick around as a producer?
Do you
think
he
produced the 3rd one?
Yeah, but I mean, like the whole thing.
It would have been, because each episode or each episode. At this point, it's a miniseries, a very long miniseries. Each episode it got darker and darker and darker. Do you think Chris Columbus? Because Chris Columbus, when he made the first two, right? He made the first two. I felt like they were very like, this is for children. This is like a kids movie. It's very children focused. Do you think that he could have made that transition as they got older and whatnot to continue to make that dark transition rather than keep it kind of on the kiddish?
Dark is a relative term. Just because you add rain doesn't mean it's darker.
Yep.
No, I'm not saying that.
No, I'm saying that's
like,
literally what happened a lot. They added rain in a lot of sequences and they put on filters. The darkness of the books doesn't really trigger until the end of 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's some dark tones. Obviously, they get more adult, but I feel like the movies compensate for that. Like, oh, we made it darker. It's like they literally made them darker.
Well, they literally,
literally.
I felt like every scene was at nighttime.
I know. I was
like from 5 on or something like that. It was like every scene was in night.
And honestly, I would have appreciated the dichotomy of having that warm, like whimsical color palette with darker tones going on, because Hogwarts still this warm magical place, and so is like the Wizarding World, but like this bad stuff is happening and these kids are growing up, but they just were like, well, they're darker, so everything is going to be dark now.
And it's just, I think even if it's not Chris Columbus, just to not have, after he lets go, they have 3 different directors, and that's just changed his vision. And you can tell it's like, people always complain about the Star Wars sequel trilogy, that it's idiotic, that there was no overarching structural plan to go from JJ to Rian Johnson back to JJ. That's what they did at Warner Brothers directly through these Harry Potter. There was no one, like, there already is a structure in place. There are 7 books. And they're like, no, we need different creative vision. And we just rebooted it each time. Like, we still have the main actors, but the director plays such an influential role in how everything is conveyed.
Yeah, it almost felt like the different like bonds throughout the eras. You know, it's almost like it's like the same story, but it's very different feel to like the different kind of bonds throughout the years,
That's
decades.
A good call.
So it depends on what bond you like best, I guess, or what era or whatever. And it just didn't have a clear vision across the board through the 7 films. That's where I think we could have had someone like Chris Columbus has stuck on and really told the directors, like, you know what, this is maybe not the series for you to create your own vision for the story. You know, just try to help, you know, direct them, and you can put your own spices on it, but, you know, keep it to the same tone and the same look and style, at least. Would have been nice.
Yeah.
And that's honestly what I want from a reboot. Is just like, for whoever has it made to go in and contract a director and a writer, be like, listen, you're doing all 7. That's just how it's going to work. It's like, you gotta. Yeah.
But were they expecting this to be a phenomenon after
the
that?
Books were already a phenomenon.
Yeah.
The books were a phenomenon, but let's say the audience didn't connect with Daniel Radcliffe. What if they thought, this kid is not Harry Potter? I don't want to see 7 more of this kid.
They knew as soon as the first movie like was over that it was going to be like,
yeah, once the first movie was over, they knew they were making all of them, and because it was a resounding success.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is, let's say it wasn't a resounding success. We wouldn't be talking about this right now.
Right.
Well, then why? Like, well, then they could have just waited for the first movie, and once it was, go to Chris Columbus and be like, hey, we need you to make all of them.
Yeah, that would make more
because
sense.
they had the kids sign 7-year contracts before the first movie.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Was that in the reunion? Because we're supposed to be talking about the reunion.
I thought we moved past it.
I thought this whole episode was supposed to be about the reunion.
Not much happened in the reunion.
Not much to talk about. Yeah, Trevor's even said he's like, I don't like everything you talk about in the reunion just makes me want to talk about all the other stuff about Harry Potter.
It really does. Yeah, it kind of makes you want to lean into what happened during the movies. Like,
just think of. Go ahead.
No, I'll derail us. Trust me.
Okay, I was just, when you have the 7th book, it's such a big deal because there's so much that goes into Harry's decision and Harry's motives and everything that kind of gets to end that journey. And so when Hagrid brings him across the bridge and literally that's when Neville comes in, is an actual savior. I don't know how you get to the point to change that. Could you imagine? It's got to be difficult to depict, but just the idea that literally at the same time that Harry reveals himself from the cloak, Neville gets the sword out of the sorting hat and slices Nagini's head. At that same moment, the house elves storm out of Hogwarts, and then the centaurs shoot arrows from the outside, and then the parents of all the kids there come storming over the other wall. It's this big chaotic cluster of everything happening. And in the movie, Nagini slides away and is going on a hunt for Ron and Hermione. It's the weirdest anticlimactic just conclusion of an epic idea. It's an epic story. The movies are building towards something, and then it's just like there's no climax.
No, that's not true. They grab each other,
and
then they fall off a building.
Oh, no.
And they jump off, and he explained that, and he's like, "Oh, they always had this Horcruxy spirit," and I'm like, "You're gonna use the word Horcruxy in describing these movies because it shows how big of a fan you are." But not only that, Voldemort just killed Harry's Horcrux. His scar, the actual piece of Voldemort, they don't have that connection anymore. It's literally just been destroyed in the forest before this fight. So they don't have that connection. It's completely gone. So you don't still have that oh, look at our CGI. We merged their faces together as they're flying around.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. That's gone. It literally just ended. It's like I know they film movies out of order, but it's like they forgot that, oh, we did that sequence where that Horcrux connection is ended.
Yeah, that's weird triple baby Voldemort.
Yeah, the creepy baby Voldemort.
God, I don't remember any of these movies.
see, it helps. We literally just rewatched.
I just watched all the movies, and it's amazing. So if you watch those movies and just kind of pause and just laugh at them, there's some good comedy bits in there. you got it, because you can't take them seriously, man.
See, and I have to
trust
also
me. I don't. Look at me right now.
Well, it's fan fiction stuff
on my
all.
forehead, and I'm wearing glasses without lenses. I'm not taking this stuff very seriously.
I mean, I have to explain Trevor's vitriol a little bit. Is he also just finished rereading the entire series? So he was about halfway through the 7th book. He's like, let's start rewatching the movies, so that like kind of time up finishing the movies with the book. And so every time we watch it, he pauses. He's like, that's not how that happens. That's not what that's supposed to look like.
But just like, I do want to give a shout out to the books. I read the books when they came out. I started reading the book when I was 11, and that's the first book, Harry's 11, and I read them as they came out every time after that. And I haven't looked at them since. And then over the last year, I was like, I'm going to reread the Harry Potter books. And so it gives you a great appreciation to the actual storytelling of J.K. Rowling. She is an amazing storyteller. No matter what you say about her and her opinions or beliefs, she's one of the best storytellers alive, and one of the best storytellers over the past 100 years at least. And it's just, they're amazing books. And I guess I just am flabbergasted that you're like, I'm going to change that in the film depiction of that.
It is strange. I agree. Like when I read those books, like I was in that world. Like that doesn't happen with every book. I mean, I'll enjoy some books, but there are very few books that I'm like living in that world for the weeks or months or whatever that I'm reading those books. That's a rare talent. There's
a reason Harry Potter resonates with so many people, where people like their house becomes a part of their identity. Like you meet somebody, you're like, oh, what's your Hogwarts house? It's like a thing that it's in our lexicon now that even exists. Like you can't build something like Harry Potter World at Universal and have it be as successful as it is without the basis of those books and people wanting so badly to live in that world and believe, oh, when I'm 11, even though I'm 13, I'm gonna get my owl, I'm gonna get my letter, I'm gonna get my wand. Like, yeah, and to your point, Trevor, just to go back to Yates, like when Yates came on board, I was so disappointed. Like I can tell that he, like, yeah, he can have good shots and scenes, like the way they look and stuff is fine. Like he's a great director in that regard. Like we talked about this with Zack Snyder. Like, yeah, it's great. You know, he knows how to set a scene. He knows how to make it look nice. But there's something about the tone that he doesn't quite understand what J.K. Rowling was getting at. And one of my favorite scenes, probably my favorite scene in all the books, is a scene that's not in the movies, which is the House of Gaunt. And for whatever reason, they don't include it in the movies, but it's a scene at least in my recollection, is that it was mostly daytime, that whole chapter in the books. And
it's one of the darkest scenes in the books. And you can do those scenes in daytime and have it still be dark and let it resonate and have that, evil undertone to it. And I think they just missed that in all those final books. It was just so dour. It felt like I was watching Twilight instead of Harry Potter, to me at least. There's no whimsy, no magic. The magic had gone out, been snuffed out after the third
Yeah, I don't know
movie.
why the magic leaves. But like that's just the whole idea of the depictions of magic, though, because it's a lot where it's just like bullet fire. There's a point where they're running through the forest and there's
They're
sparks
shooting
hitting
each other,
trees. It looks like they're getting shot at. That's not how magic is spells. You don't just have blasts and stuff.
Yeah, it's silly.
It's like when everybody flies around as like black smoke monsters. I mean, Voldemort can fly, and Kingsley is like, yeah, he can fly, and everybody's blown away. And now all the Death Eaters can fly.
Everyone now can.
They never put Voldemort on that level of pure terror and power with magic in the movies. He always seems like he's kind of complaining about stuff, and he's always whiny. He never seems to be like this devastating adversary. Like, he can pretty much do anything there is with magic.
Yeah.
Honestly, kind of silly.
Yeah.
Like, you almost kind of want to laugh at him because he's so silly.
We were at the end. There's a
You're
part.
so silly. I got your nose.
No, at the end, he says some like joke or something about Neville, and all the Death Eaters laugh behind him, and he turns around and he's like, ha ha ha, like he doesn't know what laughing is. Like, he's like trying to replicate what laughing's supposed to be. It's like the Mark Zuckerberg meta video where there's a jar of barbecue sauce on the bookshelf behind him in the living room. He's like, what do humans like? They like barbecue sauce. Get that in the shot.
That's right. Yes, put that there. Very nice.
Well, I know that you guys just kind of blasted this movie for the last 40 minutes. What is about Harry Potter that you actually like? Like, why are we sitting here talking about this? Why is there such a big phenomenon if we're sitting here complaining about these movies?
Well, I think that's why we're complaining, is because we're so passionate about the world and the books and the story and the characters. I've known tons of Harry Potter fans. Most people that are huge Harry Potter fans know that the movies aren't great, unless they're Harry Potter movie fans. Now, Harry Potter fans that started with the books or who like the books more are always going to be like, well, the movies they didn't get it right. Like, this is right and this is right, and I can respect that. But for the most part, the whole story of Harry Potter in the movies
is wrong.
It fell flat. It's wrong. Yeah, it's wrong. And so that's why. Like, we care so much about this world and about these characters that we get passionate about it and we get fired up. So it sounds like we hate it, but it's because we love it so much.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. That's exactly what
and it's tough also. I always try to kind of zoom out.
So I'm so sorry. I might have to renew my vows. And just add all this type of stuff that I don't like, but it's because I love you so much. That's why. That's what I got out of that.
Nice.
Sorry.
But when you zoom out, it's tough to kind of just look at the movies by themselves. Like, I try my best to just watch it without the knowledge of the books. It's impossible to do so, but to try to like ask people who have only ever seen the movies, what's the part that resonates with you? What's the parts that kind of connect with you? Well, Alex doesn't connect with it. It's not.
Oh, that's true. I was like, Alex has only seen it.
It's more the people who are big Harry Potter fans. Oh, I've never read the books, and I can't visualize it. Like, I like respect to any of our listeners who are those type of people. I'm not, criticizing you or getting down on you. I just don't understand it. I can't not have that book knowledge when I watch the movies. And there's a lot of book adaptations into movies, and of course it's not going to be perfect and all of that. But when you're just watching the movies, it seems like I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about Snape, and I'm watching this movie. Is it conveying Snape's motives? Or, I don't know how Ron and Hermione ever end up together and all the reasons that develop their relationship when I'm just watching the movies. And it's really tough because when you look at it, knowing that, it's like, well, they didn't convey how they actually have a romantic relationship that develops.
Ginny and Harry.
Ginny and Harry is not developed at all.
Right. Yeah.
Suddenly Harry's just into Ginny.
And then they start making out or something.
Yeah.
They're married.
Yeah.
Snogging. Oh yes.
Ginny, like out of every character in the Harry Potter movies, they did Ginny the dirtiest. Like Ginny is such an awesome character in the books, and they're just like, nah.
Yeah, we don't have
We'll
to
just
do it
stick
at
her in the
end.
background until she has to make out with Harry Potter.
It's a lot of not having the same director, where it's like, okay, we won't emphasize the glass that's actually Sirius's because we don't know how that will influence it later on, because I don't plan it that far out. I don't care about Dobby's death because I'm not planning it that far out. I don't care about Ginny's, relationship with Harry because I'm not thinking about, they're going to end up in together in 7, so I need to set it up in 5.
That's the problem with not having someone who is seeing it all the way through to the end. That was there from the beginning.
They need what Marvel has, that like overarching, like people
person
that
who
like,
maintains the timeline. They have 2 people, and all they do, they look at everything and they maintain the timeline. Yeah,
that's what they need. They need a writer.
Yeah, but
Marvel
this
has
is
to remake Harry Potter.
This is WB, man. WB don't. Come on,
they do not plan.
Look at DC, man.
No,
DC Universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least they didn't do that to Harry Potter. I mean, I guess they kind of did, but where it's like
did.
where they just keep rebooting it.
They felt like they kind of did reboot it right in the middle once they changed directors
and
the second, third time.
Well, I mean, the loss of Richard Harris as Dumbledore.
That's the biggest.
That's the big like that. He was so perfect as
when
Dumbledore.
Chris Columbus in the reunion says, "Oh, Richard Harris, he was just like an 11-year-old trapped in a 70-some-year-old body. He was
that's
goofy
Dumbledore.
all the time."
Like, yes.
That is Dumbledore. He embodies Dumbledore. And the guy they brought in, it's like he never read the books. He's like, I'm gonna act. He acted it. He acted the lines. He acted the dialogue, but he acted it like a Shakespearean actor, and he didn't act anything like Dumbledore's conveyed in the books.
We came up with a headcanon that actually that was Aberforth. And him and Dumbledore switch places.
They switch places at the end of 2.
And Dumbledore's still out there on adventures.
I definitely like that part of the reunion where they were talking about how he was walking by the bird.
Oh, he thought the bird was real.
And he goes,
funny story.
And what does he say? He says something like, "The way they train these birds is just magnificent."
So good.
Like, that is wild. Like, oh my god.
And then Tom Felton, when he was talking to Dean, he's like, "Oh yeah, on the first day, Richard Harris, I didn't know he was on the movie, and we're in this big fancy place, and I thought he was like a tour guide or something."
Oh, that was brilliant. I loved that. Now, did you guys know about
they
like
needed more of those?
Yeah,
I know that you guys said that you know a lot about the behind the scenes and whatnot. Did you know a lot about the like love connections between certain cast members?
Oh, the whole rumor that Emma Watson had a thing for Tom Felton has been around forever. So
Okay, and then and well, they really like opened that up in this. I'm just gonna call it a documentary. I'm not gonna call it reunion anymore. We should almost change the name of this episode to not reunion. This is
Harry Potter
not
commentary.
reunion.
Yeah, Harry Potter commentary. That'll work. But I didn't know, and that's the thing. That I think for a person like myself, watching the Harry Potter reunion was actually a good thing because it felt cool. I've never heard any of these stories. I don't know anything behind the scenes when it comes to the Harry Potter, and then to learn like these kids grew up together. Almost, I mean, they went through the major changes in a kid's life.
Well, it's
from
funny.
childhood to adulthood.
They made a big deal about the movie. Is it The Room or the one where Brie Larson has, or no, it's the one with the little boy where he actually ages up the entire.
Oh, it's like called Boy or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
called
A Boy's Life.
Yeah, but they did that on the Harry Potter movies over 8 films.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
That is the most brilliant thing though, because we as an audience grew up with those kids as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we have found the connection with us all, with them, and yeah, I don't know. I really found that to be very fascinating stuff.
I mean, I didn't know all the stories, like that whole story about Richard Harris. I didn't know that. Emma Watson tells that story about her like hamster or something. I didn't know that. So those
Which was
were
such
fun.
a bizarre why they added that story.
And then Daniel Radcliffe's like, I don't remember that at all. He's like, how much stuff did I forget?
Well, I mean, they didn't even touch on his alcoholism or anything like that.
It was a celebration.
It was a celebration. I would love something. I would love a
No, come on.
Harry
Let me
Potter
talk about your alcoholism. Hey, tell me about the really tough parts of your life.
Just wait for the
I want-
Barbara Walters special in 20 more years. Well,
I
she'll
want
be
the
dead, but,
actors
you
to
know.
like answer the fan questions. I want people to ask Michael Gambon, who played Dumbledore, be like, hey, you know that scene in Goblet of Fire?
That scene.
That
where,
scene
you know,
where it says calmly.
Dumbledore calmly approached Harry and said, "Harry, did you put your name in the cup? Let me pin you to the wall."
Yeah.
Harry, where'd you get that? Answer me.
If you ask most Harry Potter fans their biggest problem with the movies, it would be that scene right there.
That scene, just that whole portrayal of him as that character.
It just he
Well,
wasn't magical.
So
or
since we
warm.
are ragging on this, is there anything that you really do like about the movies? Is like something
Okay.
stand out, whether it's an actor, performance, scene, look.
I really like the
Place.
first two movies.
Okay. Yeah.
For actors, I will say, even though he's too old,
Okay.
Alan Rickman he took
yeah.
Snape. Like Snape is Alan Rickman. They are
Yeah.
the same. He was a perfect Snape.
I
He's
feel
too
like-
old, but
I feel like a lot of the established older actors did a good job. I feel Lupin did a good job. I feel
Oh, yeah.
Maggie Smith is
Mhm.
always going to do an
Maggie
amazing
Smith
job.
as
She's
McGonagall.
perfect McGonagall.
perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
I would,
Well, there you go.
again,
Nice.
Which
Gary
they
Oldman wasn't my Sirius, but
they cut out a lot of stuff with her too. Like the whole fighting scene. That I thought that was pretty fascinating that they had this like weeks long training on how to fight each other and then they shoot the whole fighting scene and it is nowhere to be seen in any of the movies.
Well,
That's
the Order
movies
of the
for ya.
Phoenix end is kind of lackluster. When they go to the
Mm.
Department of Mysteries and you go to that brain room and
Oh,
then you go to
brain
that
room.
time room and the time clock falls on the Death Eater's head and he has a baby head that all goes all
And
like
why
through
don't they-
time back and forth.
Why don't they do
Yeah.
that? Right? It's like you have a movie. You could do that.
that was the best part. My favorite part. The fifth book was my favorite for a lot of reasons. And that was one of them, is that whole scene, the brain room, the brain attacking Ron, and he like loses his mind for like the whole battle. And just the veil
What?
and how
This must
the
be in the
arch
books.
is like actually portrayed.
Yes. this is
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
books.
it's
That's
never
what's
not
great.
in the
This is in the
movies.
books.
The,
Okay,
the
cool.
Department of Mysteries in the movies is essentially the
just
prophecy
prophecies.
room.
And then they're
It's
like, "Oh, we
nothing.
got to put
It's
the
just
arch
them
in there."
fighting
'Cause
in the
that's like
prophecy
that's a big
room.
deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, just having Helen Bonham Carter talk to Gary Oldman about that scene that they fought this whole time, and then in the movie,
Yeah.
there's one spell cast, and then Sirius falls through the veil. Done.
Yeah. It's like why?
Matt-
Like
That spell's never cast in the book.
I
He just
know.
falls through the archway and then
He
he's gone.
stumbles
it's like-
back. Yeah, he doesn't
There's
get
no
the
point.
killing curse.
There's no point for
Yeah.
him to fall through it. He's already dead.
Right.
like, he could
the
stand there
killing
right
curse
there
makes
and be
no
dead.
sense in that
Yeah.
thing.
See,
It's
that's why
Leviosa.
that's the despair that like I remember when I read that book and like I cried so hard when Sirius died. My mom like came downstairs. She's like, "What's wrong? Are you hurt? What's going on?" She's like, "You scared me to death." And
Do I need to turn off the
guess-
Wi-Fi?
and because it was just the whole like that despair, like because he meant
Yeah.
so much to Harry, and they really don't go into that in the movies. Like their relationship in the movies is nothing like it is in the books. Like what he represents to Harry, like the future that he represents, is just such a big deal. And then he stumbles back through the veil, and he's gone. And it's like I remember being like, "We'll go through. Like look for him. He has to be somewhere."
Harry goes.
right?
Yeah, Harry goes to the other side of the veil. He just fell right through this archway. He's just on the other side.
But he's just gone. And you like it's one of the mysteries in Harry Potter. It's like, well, maybe he's still alive somewhere.
Right. Could.
And then you
It's a
see his
mystery.
ghost at the end of the books, and then you're like, "Damn it!"
Oh, so this is tied into Star Wars. Okay.
Yes.
Now I'm tracking. Now I understand Harry
Well,
Potter.
I already mentioned that we lined up the timeline with the Thanos snap. When
Mhm.
Voldemort he gets Thanos snapped while he's fighting Harry. He didn't
So does
actually get killed.
Bellatrix.
Yeah, Bellatrix. She also got
gets
Thanos snapped.
snapped.
So
Yeah.
that times up with the MCU.
And then having the whole Force Ghosts and the
The
fact
Force
that they're
Ghosts at
all
the end, yeah.
Jedis. I mean, really, they're all Jedis. but
Right,
They
they
just
all
have
are
to say,
Jedis.
yeah. So this is a
Wands.
seriously lightsabers,
Yeah.
what we're
wands. Same, brother.
The Harry Potter man, they start doing all these force push abilities somehow out of nowhere.
Everybody,
Just like
every
Neo
student
in the new
knows
Matrix.
nonverbal.
Yeah.
Now we've got the Matrix involved. I love this. Let's make it all happen. Oh, wait, Space Jam made it all happen. That's right. Never mind.
That's true.
Oh, but not
Anyways.
fun.
Yeah, back-
Actually,
back to
neither
the
one of those
reunion.
movies are fun.
Helena Bonham Carter, she did a really good job. Like Bellatrix is described to look differently, but she acts crazily perfect as Bellatrix, and as herself in the reunion, she did a really good job. Reading Harry or Daniel Radcliffe's letter, and at the end where he
That's
says,
cute.
"If I was 10 years younger,"
Older. He was 10 years
Older.
younger.
if he was
Really
born,
illegal.
no, if he was born 10 years earlier.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go. That's
Yeah,
what it was.
wait.
I could have had a chance.
Good for him.
Oh well.
Hey, man, he shot his shot, dude.
Exactly. That was great. I love Bellatrix. I love her as
Oh,
a character
she's
in the books,
great,
and I
man.
love Helen Bonham Carter as the character. So
Yeah.
She's such a phenomenal actress.
I thought the Gary Oldman discussion with Daniel Radcliffe was good as well. I just wish that he interacted with more people beyond Daniel Radcliffe.
It's funny because going back on
Yeah.
Sirius and Harry's relationship is they talked about like how much Gary Oldman and like Daniel Radcliffe like hung out behind the scenes, like all this stuff. I'm like, cool. I wish I'd seen that relationship in
they,
the movie.
They like connected on acting
would have been
and
nice.
stuff.
Instead of
He
just
shows
having
up-
his face in the fire for one
Yeah,
scene.
he shows up the whole
Thanks.
4th book. All the interaction with Sirius, it's reduced in the film to in the fire.
That
Like,
weird.
that's
like,
his dad. Like that's his father, and his like they don't convey that well enough to me.
Wait, what?
it's
No, he's
not.
his
No,
real
it's just.
father. Like it's his
Oh,
father.
He's a
figure.
father
Never had a
figure.
father.
Yeah.
But
That's-
that's his dad. Like he didn't have a
Oh,
dad growing up.
God.
Even just adding in that scene at the end of the 3rd one where they're on the train and like the owl comes and it has the Hogsmeade letter and Sirius signed it. Like just even that would have been so much. I was like, when at the end of the 3rd movie, I was like, they didn't do that part. How does Harry ever go to Hogsmeade?
Never know.
You never know.
And I mean,
Anyways.
Sirius also gives him the firebolt, and for some reason, after the 2nd movie, Quidditch just doesn't happen really anymore.
Quidditch isn't a thing.
Yeah.
Even the Quidditch World
The
Cup. there's
Quidditch
no
World
Quidditch.
Cup is only an introduction. They don't actually play the game of Quidditch. And so when the Triwizard Tournament happens, Wood doesn't become irate that you can't cancel Quidditch because
Right.
they don't ever show Quidditch to matter, so he doesn't care. And then in the 5th one, when Harry gets permanently banned by Umbridge from Quidditch, that doesn't matter because Quidditch never happened either, so he doesn't. That's not a thing to take away from him. I miss
Yeah.
Quidditch.
Well, I think
I
we're
miss Quidditch,
definitely
too.
proving the point that the books are better than the movies. I think we just spent an hour doing that. Should we?
Sorry.
Should we
It's no, you can't talk about Harry Potter without talking about that. It's just impossible.
I mean, to
It
that
is.
point though, of like what we want to see, like they're doing the Fantastic Beasts, and for some reason, J.K. Rowling has this vendetta to destroy Dumbledore's character and just make him the absolute worst thing. I don't know what that mind thing is. That's her, and she's doing a whole separate movie series just under the pretense of Fantastic Beasts. But is there something you would like to see made within the Harry Potter universe? Like, do you want to see it as a TV show? Do you want to see it as a movie series? You keep inhaling.
Because I'm going to speak for like every Harry Potter fan ever and say we want the Marauders. That's what we want.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I would love to see their backstory. Like
A
that
TV
that
show
would
of the
be
misadventures
my TV
of the
story of them.
Marauders.
How they became their different names and everything, and how they made the map, and or how they stumbled upon
Because
it and everything.
it's
all
all
of that.
familiar characters, but it's an entirely new story. It's these
Yes.
kids growing up in a time where Voldemort is in power, and like what's that
Yeah.
like? And just there's so much story there that we all care about because we care about those characters, and it would just, I'd want it.
And it just
No,
fits as a
I
TV
agree.
show. It's a high school TV drama set in Hogwarts. Because some of the better parts of
Exactly.
the movies is the teenage angst, but they kind of go at it haphazardly and don't fully flesh it out. So TV show is going
Yeah.
to give you more time because they can't spend time on teenage dynamics when you have to have 3 events in the Triwizard Tournament.
They
on
did
film.
though.
Not as much as they could have. Not in like a TV show.
This whole 6th movie is teen angst. Forget Voldemort's backstory. Teen angst.
Oh yeah, the
instead.
Voldemort back. We don't even get Tom Riddle at all in the
But-
6th movie.
Don't
Okay, anyway,
get me
back to things that we
started.
want to see.
That would be my thing. Would be Tom Riddle. I want to see like his story.
We could
He's
go
my
book
favorite.
by book and be like, this is what they left out, and this is what they left out.
I mean, that
Like,
would be
okay.
a good TV show too. Of the rise of Tom Riddle.
Mhm.
I would love it. That would be my thing. That would be that's what
It's
that's what was
super
missing,
dark.
and that ticks me off that we didn't get.
And you can
anything
do,
about
I
him.
mean, you haven't read The Cursed Child, but The Cursed Child is all about all their kids at Hogwarts. That could be a series too.
Yeah.
It's a stage play already.
Could be.
I mean, you could go back to the 4 founders,
Yeah.
where they're like, Gryffindor's like, oh, I want the bravest, and then Ravenclaw's like, I want the smartest, and then Hufflepuff's like, I'll take the rest, and then Slytherin's like, I'm gonna put a big snake in Hogwarts.
I'm just gonna hide it. You're not gonna know where it's at.
Slytherin, no.
Okay, Salazar, go do that, buddy. They all pick on him. That's how he becomes evil.
I guess I'll just say I want what you guys want.
Oh,
I
thanks,
don't know.
Aw.
I don't know.
I-
I don't know.
I will
don't-
say that I don't like the Fantastic Beasts movies because I just don't care about the American Wizarding School. I just don't care. Like
See, I
I care
really-
about the UK. Like that's my place.
I really liked the first one because it was like they added like an overarching plot that had to do with the rest of the world, but it was about the beasts. And I was like, this
Sure.
is fun and it's cool because I
It's
don't
fun.
have
It's a fun movie. Yeah,
I don't have a
agree.
book to compare it to. That was my favorite thing about it, about
There you
watching. Is
go.
I can actually
Okay.
just enjoy it as a movie
And
and
they-
not be like, they didn't do this and they didn't do this and this is wrong.
Sure,
and they didn't
sure.
do this.
But just having Fantastic Beasts is fun. Like,
Yeah, like if you
They're
put the Fantastic
fantastical.
Beasts and bring them back over to England, because
or
I
even
don't
if
care
you just
about
had a
America.
TV show where he goes and captures a new fantastical beast every week, it would be like a
Yeah.
monster of the week. And
In the
they come up
UK.
with super imaginative stuff.
I agree.
See, Prague, I guess there's supposed to be like 11 great wizarding schools.
I don't
And
care about
because
the
I
other
was
ones.
reading up about it the
Yeah, I
other
know.
day. And I was like, I would love to learn about all of
Well-
those. Like to have like an anthology series, kind of like Star Wars Visions.
Right.
But with different stories at these schools, like the one in Japan, and there's one in Africa, and one in Russia, and one in Norway, and it would just be really cool to see
There would be.
how these
Oh, yeah.
schools are different.
It's just not in America. I just don't care about the American ones. Boring. Where Americans are boring.
I just want to know
That's
there
just
has to be more than one. There just has
yeah,
to be
there
more
is.
than one. I know there's one in like Brazil, but there's no way one wizarding school can service all of North America. They already have one wizarding school for the UK, which is like the size of California.
There you go. There you go.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Imagine if every college student went to Harvard.
Oh God.
Oh,
That'd be
then
a
we would
lot.
all have to hear about it for the rest of our lives.
Yes.
Good Lord.
Guess what I want? Yeah, well, I went there too. Yeah, but so did I.
No, but I went there before you. Harvard.
Anyways.
Wanted Muffy, he went to Harvard too. Okay.
And then just like, this is probably a deeper topic, just put a cursory glance of J.K. Rowling and deciding to put foot in mouth. Like literally, she's making the decision to not just stay quiet and people love her. Instead, she's like, you know what? I'm gonna put my foot in the ground and die on this hill of something that shouldn't have any bearing on her life. And so the question is, does that impact your view of Harry Potter? Because there's some people like, oh, I'm going to, throw all the books in the trash. I'm not going to see any of the movies ever again. I'm not going to go to the Harry Potter worlds and buy all the merchandise and stuff. And that's fine for some people, but should people be able to like have that division? Because if you go through probably the greatest writers in the history of time, every 100 years you go back, you're going to find some really dark stuff that's way worse than anything that
Artist,
J.K. Rowling could
anything.
possibly come up with.
I mean, I don't know if you knew this about Lewis Carroll, but he really liked little girls. So this happens, and that doesn't mean you can't write great stuff. These people are probably, I mean, a lot of them are probably demented, and she has her own views. And I think that she probably did this because she thought that, oh, I have this money and power. I could be like this activist for this other cause that no one else seems to agree with me on. Like, whatever reason. But for me personally, no, it doesn't taint my view of Harry Potter. I think that like whatever comes out of an artist's head, whether it be painting, music, art, like that is no longer a part of them anymore. Like that is out in the world for us to enjoy. And I'm going to enjoy it. Like it's a little bit different too if it was like an actor, for example. If I were going to watch a movie with Kevin Spacey, like unfortunately that is tainted. Like I'm going to watch that. I'm going to be like, a little bit. I don't have to see J.K. Rowling in her books when I read them. So
I am
or the
going to
movies.
pause you
That's
guys
great.
on this topic because this is
Yes.
a topic that we've been discussing for a long time now that we want to actually bring on board for a full episode where we actually spend a lot of time on this, where we can separate, or should we separate the artist from the art, or vice versa, or artists, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I would rather save almost this whole conversation for that.
Yeah, I won't go too deep.
Yeah.
We're
But
just
that's
dipping
my
our
take.
toes, Alex.
Yeah, that was my toe.
This is
No,
that-
and I'm glad that we are, because this
Yeah.
is a great intro
It's
to
a good setup for a future podcast.
for a future podcast.
But yeah, I'm gonna still buy merchandise and everything Harry Potter, and I'm still gonna read the books. So
I would say for me, I tend to walk the line a little bit. I think there are some things that certain artists do that rub me that like do interfere with me being able to enjoy what they do, like you said, with actors, especially because you see them and you're like,
you can't help it, right?
I can't help it. But I agree. You don't see J.K. Rowling in her book, and at the end of the day, it's like we all grew up with Harry Potter, and you can't just erase that.
Yeah.
You can't. And I never want to be the parent that's like, you can't read this, you can't watch that, you can't do this, because I want my children to make their own choices and learn from the world. Like the whole thing, and as a writer and an artist myself, it's about being able to separate fiction from life. It's like if you read something really messed up in fiction, that doesn't mean that the person that wrote it believes those things.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that the characters in her book believe the things that she believes, because they have a life of their own now through the fans, and they always will.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
Not gonna lie, that's a great way to wrap this whole thing up.
Oh wait, no, I have one more way to wrap it up.
Oh,
because I can't believe we haven't
that
talked
was
about
so
this.
good.
No, we haven't talked about houses.
Oh yes, I think we have before, but we should probably
Honestly,
do it again since we
you
haven't had you
only
on.
have 2 houses. The other 2 really don't even matter.
Wow.
See,
Wow,
that's what
indeed.
the-
I want to know what.
Well, no, the
I know
movies
exactly which
portray
2 he's
that.
talking about.
Yeah, there's the lion and the snake. Those are the
Oh
2
my
the
God.
movies
houses.
portray
Get
that
outta
there's
here.
only 2 houses.
Exactly.
I know they
That's
do.
what
I
the
know,
biggest
that's true.
difference is.
When people say Hufflepuff, I'm sitting here thinking of a Pokemon.
I
Even
see
said
that.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
He said
That's-
Pokemon.
Hell is a
That is
Hufflepuff.
exactly how I say it. It's Pokemans. Gotta get them.
I'm a
catch 'em
Hufflepuff.
all.
For your information.
So you're a Pokemon. Okay.
He's
Who
a
are you?
Gryffindor. There's no way. We had this discussion on our walk earlier.
No, he's
about
totally-
what your house was, Alex. And he's like, really? You don't think he's this or that? I'm like, no, he's a Gryffindor.
What is the other one? I
Explain
don't
why.
even know what the other
Explain
one
why?
is.
Yeah.
Because you're very sociable, you're loud, you're courageous in the right moments, especially social situations. You're just you like to me. That's why he was like, well, not a Slytherin. I'm like, no.
Why would it be
Alex is not a
Slytherin? That
Slytherin.
sounds so mean.
See, that's the other thing is it really the movies do a really big disservice to Slytherin.
They really
Right,
do.
because
Evil.
it's all the bad guys go there.
Gryffindor is good.
That's not true.
and
Wormtail was a
Slytherin is evil.
Gryffindor.
Yeah, that's the weirdest
Who?
house sword is that Peter Pettigrew
Peter
somehow
Pettigrew.
wants a Gryffindor.
He's a
Who?
Gryffindor. He's the one that turns into a rat. He's the henchman that cuts off his
Oh.
hand and brings back Voldemort. He
Oh.
betrays James and Lily, although they
Makes
never go
sense.
into the whole Oathkeeper thing.
I remember the guy turning into a rat because that was Ron's pet for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and then Ron was like, "How come my pet just turned into some middle-aged dude?" Or at least that's what
Yeah.
I was thinking.
But
And
yeah,
by the way,
so-
why was Ron not a Hufflepuff? Shouldn't he have been a Hufflepuff?
Why?
Or the other
Why?
one?
Yeah.
What's the other one?
No, Hufflepuff is what you're
Ravenclaw?
thinking of.
No,
It's like
but what is the other
Hermione
one?
should have been a Ravenclaw.
Hermione definitely should have been
Ravenclaw. Okay, Ravenclaw.
I don't think no, Ron's not nice enough to be a Hufflepuff. Sorry, Ron fans. He's just not.
It's true.
Anyways, so I'm
in the
I'm
song,
Ravenclaw.
Ryan.
No, I'm the lion.
No, you're Gryffindor, the lion. You're
Yeah.
the lion.
And so Prug's
Yeah.
Hufflepuff, you're a
Yeah,
Hufflepuff,
I'm a
and
Hufflepuff.
Ravenclaw.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
and Prague.
No Slytherins though on our team.
Yeah, there's
That's
no
good.
Slytherins here.
Prague,
Prague is
who are
also a
you?
Hufflepuff. He's a badger like me.
I've been Hufflepuff since day one. Oh yeah, I read the books. I'm like, oh my god, that's so mean.
It's funny, Prague, because I thought I was a Ravenclaw for the longest time, and everyone's like, but I knew I was a Hufflepuff. I'm like, I'm a Hufflepuff. I really would. I'm a Ravenclaw, but I'm a Hufflepuff. And then
Yeah.
Pottermore came out, and I remember like waiting
confirmed it, didn't
online
they?
when it came out,
Yeah.
like the night, and taking my sorting test, and it's like, you're a Ravenclaw, and I was like, no, I'm a Hufflepuff.
No, no.
Should I go onto BuzzFeed right now and do their
Yeah, hurry
whole
up. Go,
BuzzFeed
go. Yeah,
thing,
no,
and
you
then they'll
don't.
tell
No,
me?
you're good.
Just do Pottermore.
Yeah,
What
just
is
do
a
Pottermore.
The
You're
more
good.
accurate one. What is Pottermore?
Okay, I'm looking it up.
Oh, Alex. It's
You
gonna
guys
take you forever to
discuss.
do this test, anyways. It's a long
Really? It
test.
takes a long time?
Yes.
Then I don't want to do it.
I mean,
I don't like
speaking
taking
of
tests to begin
Ravenclaws,
with.
though, I think everybody knows that my favorite character in most things is going to be animal based, and so Hedwig's my favorite character, and Fox is probably number 2. But as a Ravenclaw and reading the books again and watching the movies again, Luna's probably my favorite human character.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic.
And
I really
the
liked her
actress who
part.
plays her.
Yeah.
And the reunion, just she's so Luna just in real life.
She's still Luna to this day.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she's still her.
Well, the
But
best
you-
thing about Luna
you don't act.
is Ivana Lynch. She's not an actress. She's just a fan. And
a
she
fan
just
that showed
happened to
up
be
to
cast as
auditions.
Luna. Yeah, she was just lucky. And so she's like immensely grateful for that to this day. She knew Luna as a character going into the movies to play her. Like,
I love her story where she's like, there's times where I was just staring at Daniel Radcliffe, just like I'm watching it on TV, and I don't say anything back. And they're like, this is perfect. You just look totally aloof and out of it.
Oh, that's great. She's a great
No,
character.
it was actually more fun hearing the stories like that. Like the fact that when she was a little girl, she was writing J.K. Rowling letters, and J.K. Rowling actually wrote back to her. Like, that's bonkers to me. Because I'm sure J.K. Rowling gets like just piles and piles of letters. Right now, it's most likely hate mail, but she used to get a
Back
whole
in the
bunch of
day.
other letters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And apparently she didn't write too many fans back, so to have that
Right.
would be very special, I'm sure.
that is pretty special.
For her.
Yeah. So that was always good. That was a cool part of that the reunion that I saw. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was Rupert Grint that was talking about J.K. Rowling. He's like, I kind of see her as an aunt where she's family and I love her, but I don't necessarily agree with what she says.
Yeah.
Like Aunt Muriel. It was the literal aunt in the movie.
Well, now the biggest thing, like one of the biggest takeaways for myself for this Harry Potter reunion, was kind of I almost think that they actually ended their show with this, is the fact that they were all kind of outcasts, and outcasts can kind of feel normal in this wizarding world in a way. You know what I mean? Like,
So-
am I saying this right? That
Well, yeah, no, it's funny because Michelle and I were watching the movies that made us about Nightmare Before Christmas last night, and how recently it's gained resurgence. Like when it launched, it really didn't do anything, and it's all like made for misfits and outsiders. And Harry Potter, it's the same, like inclusion for outfits and misfits. And what point does it become you're not an outsider because something is so
irony.
popular? Where you're not really a misfit, you're doing the general thing now. Like if there's Harry Potter's such this big thing, you're not an outsider anymore, you're an insider. And so the misfits aren't outsiders, and it's this weird dichotomy and irony of when does that change?
I know, it's like
It's
at
like
this
the whole nerd
point,
culture. Yeah.
at this point, if you meet someone that doesn't like Harry Potter,
They're
does
the
that make
outcasts.
them more of an
Yeah.
outsider? Because everybody loves Harry Potter.
Right, Alex?
Yeah.
Everyone
That-
does.
He's at least seen the
My
movies
s-
and enjoyed them.
my scar on my forehead hurts.
But how rare is it to meet somebody who hasn't seen a Harry Potter movie, who hasn't read the books? Like, read the books is more rare, but like most people have seen the movies.
Oh yeah,
It's rare to meet
probably
someone that's like,
everybody.
oh, I'm not really into that. I'd be like, we can't be friends.
Sorry, but we can talk, but I don't know if we can be friends.
There's no way we'll
That's
get
fine.
along. You don't know what your Hogwarts house is?
It's just it's
Hey,
a
I
weird
just learned what
outsider
mine
thing.
was.
Did you take the test?
No, you told
No,
me
I
what
told
I
him
am.
you
Okay,
told
well,
us.
you know what?
He's been crowned. He was a
Your word
sorting
is
hat.
gold, dude.
Oh, thank you. Although I'm of the personal opinion that your house is what you want it to be.
Oh, like Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even
Exactly.
tell that to his son in the epilogue.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
I heard that they had to reshoot that too.
They should
'Cause they-
reshoot it now.
Yeah, they should.
They didn't like how they originally looked in the epilogue, so they were like,
I want Harry
"Let's
with that
reshoot
beard showing up, being like, "What up?"
this." With
You
a
gotta
beard in his
wonder
hand.
if-
All right, boy, get on out of here.
You gotta
should
wonder
have
if
a
Daniel
pipe.
Radcliffe grew the beard so people would not see him as Harry Potter as much.
Oh, well, sure. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it has to be. Well, and he's only done. I feel like he's only really done a whole lot of like independent
Indie
type
stuff,
of movies.
yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot of
weird
indie
stuff.
stuff.
What's that show that he's on?
With Steve
Miracle?
Buscemi, yeah.
Yeah, Miracle
Even that
Workers?
was, I kind of like. I watched like
Well, it's
2 or
super
3
niche.
episodes.
It's
And I
on,
was
like,
like, this is pretty
TBS or
cool, but
something.
At least he did something.
Yeah.
oh
Rupert
yeah,
Grint's
absolutely.
servant,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you got Hermione, who's Beauty and the Beast. She's all over the place. I mean, she
Well,
is like,
What was interesting was Rupert Grint talked about how he has kids, and he's had kidney stones, and he's like living a relatively normal life. And both Emma Watson and Daniel Radcliffe, like Daniel Radcliffe's like, maybe one day theoretically I'll have kids, you know? And Emma Watson has this whole stance that she's always great. She's dating herself. She's amazing, single. She doesn't define herself with anyone else, that whole thing. And it's just interesting to have Rupert Grint be like, yeah, I got a kid. I've had kidney stones. I'm just doing regular
Adult
guy
things,
stuff.
yeah.
It's like, whatever, man.
well, she's trying to change the world. She's trying to change things. He's just like, I just want to get to the end of my life.
I just want to go home and have a beer. Like, are we done? Can I go home now?
There's a reason Rupert Grint was only in those interviews. He wasn't with anybody else.
So
Yeah, but he's like
I
perfect.
heard,
He is Ron Weasley. Like, he is so perfectly cast.
oh
as the
my
character.
God. They even say that in the reunion where it's like they gave him the homework assignment and he didn't do it, and they were
Yeah, it's
like,
yeah.
that's because
That's
Ron
Ron.
wouldn't have done that.
I wish he was a little funnier. I think Ron is funnier than Rupert Grint portrayed him, but that's, I guess, a more of a screenplay thing than a necessarily.
Yeah, I think
an
it's more of
actor
a
thing.
screenplay thing because I think he
There's
does.
not
get
much
funny
in the
at
way of
times.
dialogue
Mm-mm.
in
Yeah.
any of the movies. They kind of like, nah. There's exposition, but there's not much dialogue. Most of our lines will be talking about progressing the story.
Yep.
Hmm.
Exactly.
And then we mentioned the in memoriam section, but just Richard Harris isn't the only one. Richard Griffiths, who played Uncle Vernon, passed away. John Hurt, who played Ollivanders, passed away. We know Alan Rickman as Snape has passed away, but also Helen McCrory, who played Narcissa Malfoy. She was born in 1968, and I didn't know that she passed away in 2021.
Yeah, it was like I don't remember that seeing that in the news at all.
Me either. I was like, when they talked about it, I was like, wow, and that's like really recent.
Yeah.
Like you can see that it, like even like Tom Felton was really like choked up about it still. I was like, wow. Like
Yeah,
all
she
the other
played a great
people.
character too.
Yeah, she did a very good Narcissa.
Except for the hair.
The hair was weird. The hair was a weird choice. But
Hey, that probably wasn't her choice, but
it's like they were trying to portray that she was a Malfoy, but also a black by giving her the dark
Right.
hair.
Right.
But it was a weird
Well,
choice.
chill on the nose. Yeah.
And then before we end, one point that I do want to mention is the actor who plays Hagrid. He probably had the best line.
Oh,
Robbie
he
Coltrane.
did.
He said
Yes.
that I probably not going to be here in 50 years, or I'm not going to be here in 50 years, but Hagrid will be. And
Yeah.
it's really,
Oh, goosebumps.
it's a thing where actors, once they portray something or books or any kind, once you put that art out there, it's going to outlive you. And you don't often hear artists say that.
Especially Harry Potter. Like
and having that realization.
you have to think, and they talked about Emma Watson wanting to quit because you realize this is who I am now. Like for
forever,
their
yeah.
lives, like they
Yep.
spent 8
Doesn't
years
matter.
as these characters.
Yep.
They're always going to be those characters, no matter what they do in the future. Like Emma Watson's always going to be Hermione. Daniel Radcliffe's always going to be Harry Potter. Rupert Grint's always going to be Ron Weasley, and so on and so forth. Like it's just at 11
fans
years
are gonna
old.
walk up to them and be like, "Oh, you're that strange character from that weird indie movie."
Yeah, you're the Swiss Army human, aren't you?
Yeah, you're that guy. No,
You did all that farting or something in that other movie on the island.
Oh my God.
But
Did
you can't
anybody else
imagine
see
that-
Swiss Army Human or whatever?
No.
No? He's like a dead guy that gets used to you just
I don't
look
care.
it up. Look
Yeah,
it up.
all right.
But like you
Okay,
can't,
though.
you gotta imagine at 11 years old, there's no way to know by agreeing to this that that's the future you're signing up for.
Yeah, there's
Like,
no
that's
way.
crazy.
Shout
Well,
out
and
to
the
their
fact that none of
parents.
them can leave their houses anymore, like without having to sneak away or whatever. But that's
Well, maybe,
any
like,
celebrity.
Dean Thomas.
True.
Yep. So that's Harry Potter. If you watch the reunion and you didn't leave us a voicemail, hopefully in the future you are going to connect with us. But if you are a big Harry Potter fan, reach out to us on Twitter. Let us know, are we super wrong? Are the movies the best? Who needs stupid books? Whatever your take. The books are way better. I don't
Them
care.
books.
But
You hate
give us
reading.
some takes.
Let us know.
Books, we call that fire kindling. Mm-hmm, yep, mm-hmm.
You know why the movie's better? It only took me 2 hours.
It's funny how we disclaimed your opinions, but me and Prague kind of echoed your opinions the whole time.
Yeah, we did. I mean, I enjoy them probably more than you, but I do agree with you.
They were
On your
hilarious.
points.
No,
Yeah.
okay, those movies are like 2 hours and 30 minutes. It probably took us 4 hours to get through them just because you have to pause it and rip it
Stopping.
apart. That's some good laughs. Those are memories that you just create.
We'll have those memories forever. Thank you, Harry Potter.
Oh, adorable. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch the movies. I think my wife really wants to get back in there. She's super excited for Adeline to be old enough to start reading the books. That's her big thing right now.
That's the thing. Like, our kids can watch the movies, but you have to read the books first.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
I mean, not to be like a total Harry Potter heretic, but I totally saw the first movie and then I read the books.
What?
Oh, and you call yourself a fan?
I know.
BS, dude. How dare you
buy
talk
the
for
merch
all
to try to
Harry Potter
plaster
fans?
over
Potter
it.
secret.
Unbelievable.
But I wasn't really into the idea of the books. I didn't really understand what they were about. Like there wasn't the word of mouth there is today. There wasn't social media.
It's like a bandwagon and sports fan. There's always going to be Bengals and Rams fans over the next 2 weeks.
A bandwagon fan?
You just buy the merch to show the proof. Oh, look, I've had this jersey the whole time. I've been a Ram fan since I was a little kid.
This is why I don't wear any Harry Potter gear
because if I was going to be a bandwagon fan, I'd buy Hufflepuff stuff.
Yeah, because that's what's trending now. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm a Hufflepuff." And tell me it's not trending on Twitter. Everyone has to be a Hufflepuff now.
That's not true.
It kind of is, but yeah. That's okay because we're Hufflepuffs. Who cares?
That's true.
Popular. Let's get out of here, folks.
Okay.
Wrap this up.
To everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
All right. Bye. Mischief managed. Prog out.
Leviosa. Adios, y'all. We just gotta act surprised and laugh at what we say. We haven't said that before.
Just find new ways to say it.
So I'll just start with the video. Ready?
All right.
Whoosh.